What's up, guys? So today we're going to talk about Venus and we're going to talk about Annex, which is a new lending platform over on the Binance Smart Chain. Venus obviously being a lending platform that's been out there for a while. These are going to be some more elite strategies. This is only for my most loyal subscribers. If you're not subscribed, GTFOH. But if you're not subscribed, just go ahead and hit the subscribe button and then you'll be a subscriber. But I can't come out with these all the time. These are some interesting strategies that I think you guys are going to learn a lot about. If you're not in DeFi right now, you need to get in DeFi, keep exploring it and stuff like that. This is some of the most exciting stuff in crypto and really gives me that feeling that DeFi could kind of push us potentially these higher highs here in the last quarter of 2021. This is what I'm most excited about. So let's go ahead and look at Venus. If you're not real familiar with it, you have a supply side, so you can lend your coins on here for certain rates. USDT, you can earn 10.18% just lending it. Now that's better than a lot of the centralized finance things, Celsius, BlockFi, that kind of stuff, usually around 7 to 8%. And then you can also then borrow against that collateral. So different strategies that you can employ. Let's just say, in some of these, you'll actually get paid to borrow it. Bitcoin Cash, you'll get paid 3.05% to borrow it. Now, a few things, and we'll go into a little bit more. You could kind of look at this two ways. Now, let's say if you have core Bitcoin holdings and you basically want to lend that and you don't want to sell it and you want to post it as collateral, you'll earn a little bit on it and then you can take a loan against it. Now, where does that become powerful? You could say, okay, I don't want to sell my Bitcoin, I want to stick in there with it, and you could earn a little bit of a return. You could then borrow something against it. Let's just say, you ended up borrowing, for instance, I'm going to use this as an example. You borrow Doge and you get paid 3.22% to borrow it, and then you take that Doge over to Gemini, for instance, and they're paying you 3.78% to basically stake your Doge on Gemini Earn. So there's one potential strategy. You could take a loan and you could take it over to something like Annex, where maybe the return is a little bit better, and post it. Right now, just for posting your USDC right now, which I don't think this is going to hold up. People are going to see this and they're going to chase after this. But you'll get paid 22.18% for supplying USDC right now. Now, are these platforms safe? Annex and Venus has a CerTech audit. Right now it's got 181 million. Okay, we got some more money. Well, I guess it left. So 181 million, in this contract. And again, you can check out the CerTech audit, and it falls right in there in line with a lot of other platforms like Venus and stuff like that. They are making updates. They just added Tron, and then this pools thing is coming, and to support the price of ANN, which is the underlying token, they have farms, which we'll look into those as well. As you earn, you could stake your Annex, and I put a little bit in here just to make sure this is working, and you can earn over 100% on that. Say this gets big enough, you could, let's say, supply liquidity and earn over 1,000% APY. So you have this farm component here helping protect the price. What are other price protections? You have this little drop down here, and let's say you do nothing with your ANN. For each day, you're going to get 0.2% additional, just basically for holding it. And I don't know if it has to get to this 30th day, or if, even if you do 2 or 3, you're going to get something. I'm not really sure on that. Haven't necessarily tested that out. But you have these calculations and stuff like that. And we'll get a little bit more into kind of what I did and the experiment I did. So that's a little bit of an overview. Obviously, you can lend to this, you can borrow against it, or you could just lend. I mean, perfectly good strategy. Let's say if you were like, I don't know what to do, but I'm worried about this or that platform, but I think that if I just put my USDT here, I'm going to earn 10.16%. That's a perfectly valid strategy, for instance. you could go a step further and you could take a loan against that and do something else, with that money. Now, where it gets dangerous is, let's just, for instance, you said you supplied your Bitcoin and then you leveraged against it too far. Let's say you took, 60% leverage against it, and then, the market fell by 50% or fell by 80% or something like that, and you got liquidated and your Bitcoin got sold. That is the risk right there. Or if you post your Bitcoin, you borrow against it, and then, then you kind of take something and you do a bunch of trades with it, and then you kind of like end up on the wrong side of a bunch of trades, and they don't really have the money to sort of deleverage and get your Bitcoin out, and then the market crashes, and then you lose your Bitcoin. There's all kinds of stuff like that can happen. So you can over leverage with this stuff. Now, one important thing I would say, this says APY with XVS, XVS being obviously the underlying token for Venus. And as you post, collateral and stuff like that, you're gonna see the XVS come over here. If you go to vote, you're gonna say Venus earned, 0.1, blah blah blah. You can collect that, and then you've got a couple options. You go ahead and sell it, or you could post it and earn off of that XVS. So there is a price protection mechanism. Now there is a stable coin. Vi is a stable coin that you can mint out of this, but it's not earning that great of a return, and it's had a hard time keeping a $1 peg. So, at this given time, I'm staying away from that personally, but you guys can do whatever you want. So let's, so what do we have for price protection? Just as a review here, obviously, you can post XVS as collateral and earn that. You could have price appreciation on it. It has, done decent previously, and then obviously with the market crash in, April, May kind of time frame, things kind of washed out some and all that. I wish, obviously I wish I would have sold up there, but I didn't on that particular thing, and I still had a little bit of XVS, which I still kind of, have in here, 2.611. I just have that in there staking, or supplying, so that I get a little bit of a return off of it. And we'll see if it gets price appreciation. With ANN, we have the farming, and we have, various other things, like this incentive to just sort of do nothing with it, which could protect the price on it. Now, again, I think it's important, if you back these down, like if you are leveraging, you are borrowing against your underlying assets, you always want to try to keep this, even without the underlying token, at a positive rate. And we'll see both of these are, if we take this down, we are still making some. Now, what did I do originally? So I went over here, and BUSD was actually paying like 17% previously, but again, like I said, a lot of stuff doesn't necessarily hold up, because when there's opportunity like that, people will chase it, people put money in, and then suddenly the APY goes down. So I went in here, I posted this, 29,600 or so dollars, and that was my original supply balance. Then what I did is I went over here and I took a loan in USDT for 22,364 or 22,000 whatever. It wasn't quite that, because I did this little Tron experiment. And then if you see this, it's actually going to cost you this. I wish they put a minus there, but then with getting ANN, you're actually getting paid to borrow, so you're getting paid a % to borrow. I took that USDT and I brought it over here, and I posted this, I supplied it, and I was making 10.16% off of that. Then what I did was, then I decided to borrow USDC I borrowed 16,000. Now it charges like a Venus contract. I think it charges you like around $7 a lot of times to enter some of these contracts. So I think that's why it says 16,007. So I took a $16,000 loan, and then I took it back over here because this APY was way up, and then so I'm earning this. Now just to kind of like explain this a little bit more. And this is very strange. I just noticed this about this. I don't know why. Let's say like the APY on USDT is 1, but it had no negative in front of here. And I would think, I don't know, they need to display that better over there if this is correct. And this isn't some kind of UI, just kind of like issue that this is saying this. I've been monitoring this going up, so I put 16,000 there, and now it's 16,000.4. You just saw it change. So this is you're gonna keep stacking more USDC, and on top of it, you're gonna get the 7.55% in the ANN token. So you're kind of stacking both of those. Now the amount that you borrowed is gonna kind of create, see, 22,217. But what did I take over here? Well, that was a little different than what I sort of anticipated. 22,218. So a difference of like $1. So like it's charged me basically $1 at this point, like $1 extra. Then I'm going to owe back here. I don't know. That gets confusing, guys. If you're confused, I understand. And I've been looking at this a lot and have done various tests and stuff like that. But know this: if you borrow something, like if you borrow Tron, even though you're getting paid to borrow it, a lot of that is going to be actually in the ANN token. But this should say a negative 9.85%. is what it would cost you, kind of thing. And yeah, so it's costing you like 9 point something or whatever to borrow it. So whatever you borrowed, I did 1,400, but then as time goes on, you're going to owe a little bit more than 1,400, 1,400.43. So you're going to have to pay that back to totally deleverage and get your original collateral completely out, if that makes sense. So going back to our example though, forget about Tron for now, because that was just a little baby experiment. But the original start of this was the BUSD, and it was earning more than this at first. I posted that. I borrowed USDT against it, took that over to Venus, posted it over here for 10.16%, and then I ended up borrowing USDC over here, taking the USDC over here and posting it here for collateral because it was paying a good return. So I levered up. I started with less than 30,000, but then now you see this is up over 45,000, and this 15.84% is actually being paid on 45,000, but I didn't have 45,000 to begin with. I had less than 30,000. So actually, if you do the calculation, it's more like earning 20% on the 30,000. And then if you're going over here, you're earning this additional 5.58%. So suddenly you're up to, now this is 5.58 on 22,000 versus like the full 30,000. But ultimately, I kind of did the math a little bit earlier. And ultimately, it's more like I'm basically earning around 28%. I was earning around 28% on my original $29,624. There's $29,000, almost $30,000, whatever. I'm earning around 28%. Well, that's better than most stablecoin pairings, like right now on BuySwap, for instance. Like my one pool that I'm in, BUSD and TUSD, is APR 15%, APY 16%. So I'm earning better than if I was providing liquidity And a lot of times, like, stuff has kind of fallen below 20% on a lot of platforms to provide liquidity for stablecoin pairs. But let's just say if it was 20%, I'm earning 28% by doing this little strategy. Now, is this going to last that long? I don't, people are, like I said, they're going to see this opportunity. They're going to chase after this. What's some other strategies we could use? Let's say knowing this right now. Let's say you saw this, 22%. You went ahead, you put some USDC in here. And then you borrowed against it. And let's say you borrowed, USDT. You took it over to Venus. And you supplied it. You're in the 10.16%. Then you turn around, and maybe instead of doing this USDC thing I did and taking it back over to Annex, you go down here, and they're paying you to borrow DOT. You borrow DOT, and you take it, you bridge it out, you take it over to Kraken and earn 12% on the DOT. That's one possible thing you could do. You could, another thing you can do is you can kind of create, and some of you, this is what I got really excited about. And I'm just going to kind of tell you guys, I was thinking I was going to be able to borrow cake, and, unfortunately, it won't let you borrow. The borrow button is not working, and I think it's because not enough people have done it on the supply side, because why would you supply it when you could earn, in between 60 and 80%, depending on, how exactly you're staking your cake and auto compound and all that kind of stuff. So I was going to borrow cake and then go ahead and make this return off of it. But I think the move right now, I'm just going to kind of come out and say it, and this could destroy my returns and stuff. So hopefully you guys appreciate, this kind of elite strategy or whatever, but I'm going to basically get the DOT, and then I'm going to go bridge it out, take it to Kraken, and then earn on the DOT. So, that's kind of the move right now. Other things you could do, you could borrow XRP, for instance. You get paid to borrow at 2.27%. Take it over to BuySwap, and then you could go ahead and go to these launch pools, and then you could go to stake tokens, and you can earn BSW by staking XRP and earn 32%. Now, you're tapped out at 500 bucks. But let's say you did it to XRP. Let's say you did it to Chainlink. You did $500 worth into Chainlink. You did $500 in Polkadot over here. So you're earning a little more. I would say the biggest thing to look out for, just go down to this, and then this ends on this certain block. Click on that. You got 14 days. So are you going to more than make up your fees? Is it going to be worth your time to do that? And then obviously, let's say with the BSW that you earn, what can you do with that? You can be like, boom, auto compound, APY 232. Start earning crypto. Got a decent size investment over here in BuySwap. I'm bullish on BuySwap. Recent BSW profits 89. You're in this long enough, and honestly, I think BuySwap is the best exchange on any blockchain, in the DeFi space. So there's a lot of opportunity here. Earn ETH by staking your BSW. I don't even see a limit here. So, maybe you could put a ton of BSW and earn ETH and be earning 71% on that. That's a potential option. So you just really, again, here's another BNB, but guess it's not on the flip side. Now, there's contract risk, that this contract maybe gets hacked or something like that. Again, it has a CertTech audit. Venus as well. Venus has been running for a while, so obviously some of this code base is going to be similar. And so this is kind of an expansion on that. So this is a newer player in the game. ANN token just got listed on CoinMarketCap and just a few days ago, kind of thing. So it seems to be kind of holding for now around this 62 to 66 cent range. We'll see kind of what happens, because I think for the time being with the farms, as long as you're able to earn this kind of rate, some people are going to take a chance on it, or at least not sell it, go into stuff like this and earn more liquidity. Now, how much volume was it doing? Volume in past 24 hours, 163,000. So it's got some decent volume. You can move in and out, somewhat decent money, amounts of money. And then obviously, as we said before, 182, 181 million, according to that. So you have some options here that you can span this out. Another thing I did a little test, and basically at first I supplied $300 in BUSD. Then I borrowed against it. I borrowed USDT against it, and then I turned around and then supplied it back. And then I borrowed against it again. Then I supplied it back, and I borrowed against it, supplied it back. And you could, do 80% in stablecoins each time. So you're kind of winding down until like you don't have enough to it doesn't make sense to supply it anymore. And I expanded the whole thing clear up to $900. So I thought about doing that with $30,000. That I expand out. And the calculation essentially that I came out with was that if you did the calculation based on your original kind of 30,000, or like when I did it with the 300, it was like, okay, then if you calculate it back based on the fact that you really only have $300, it really was paying me 50% APY, but the majority of it was in ANN, and if I let's say took this off, it was like 0.1% net APY, without the ANN. So that is a strategy that you can just expand out. And that might be a lot of kind of what's kind of going on. It might be like why some of these numbers, have gotten up to where they are. I'm not really sure. And obviously the same thing occurs over on Venus. But you can lever out. And if you're starting with a stablecoin base, there's a lot less risk of liquidation. Obviously, USDC is pretty much backed by legitimately $1 in a bank account. Same thing with BUSD. Tether, question mark, obviously, in comparison to these two, but everybody's pretty much accepted that it is worth $1. So, various strategies. I mean, that shows you guys more things that you can do, but I think that it's very important, as some of these other chains, to stay relevant. They need to be tokenized on these other smart contract platforms like TRX. I'll clue you into another kind of elite strategy thing that, an opportunity that I basically took advantage of. I wasn't going to get into Polypup Layer 4. The collar token was coming out. I wasn't sure, and I really wish I would have went deeper. Now I'm not connected on this, but this is on Matic, and I noticed Avalanche had been added and tokenized on Matic. And so I was like, well, I want to take a position in Avalanche, but I want to earn on top of it too, and obviously be set up for capital appreciation. And so I went in there and stuff, and I've already ROI'd. I've already made it past 4%, and this thing's paying close to about 1% right now. Now that's not going to hold up. Some of you guys might ape in. And then also I went into the My token. This is pegged to the US dollar, and I felt like it was going to hold up better than USDC, USDT, and DAI, 225. So it's a little higher than that, a little higher than that, a little higher than that. So that became true, but I wish I would have put some DAI, USDT, USDC in this. And I had some WMatic. I wish I really would have went a lot deeper in this, because the price has held up pretty decent on Polypup. Now, again, I was in minute one. I was in when it launched and stuff like that, so it was a lot easier for me to ROI and get past this. So it might not be a thing that you want to get into at this point, but look out for more tokens being tokenized on other platforms and an opportunity to earn off of it. And there's a lot of strategies that you can kind of employ, maybe bridging stuff over to, borrowing money, bridging it over to another blockchain, and then earning way more than you would have earned on that particular blockchain. And what's the risk of kind of spreading this across multiple platforms? Actually it reduces your risk in some respects, because if I wouldn't have brought this, obviously the most I have risk is over here on Annex right now with this strategy where I brought this USDC back. But if I wouldn't have brought the USDC back, it would have been 30,000 minus 22,000. So essentially about $8,000 risk I would have had here. And then I would have had $22,000 risk over here to supply it. And then let's say I take a loan against that, and I do DOT, bridge it out, take it to Kraken. I'm earning 12% on it over there. So my risk would be spread between Annex, Venus, and Kraken. Now, why would I take it to Kraken, being a centralized exchange, versus just going ahead and staking DOT on my ledger? Well, you have to do the binding. There's like a binding or bonding period or whatever of 28 days, like when you want to unstake it. And so you're kind of locked in there for 28 days until it like unbinds or whatever. So with Kraken, you can just get in and out, and you're earning the set 12%, and that's APR, 12% on Kraken. They're not listed in APY, so it's a little bit better than kind of even what this stuff says. But that being said, like I said, this current strategy that I've got set up right here is around 28%. But even with the Kraken strategy, which I think is going to hold up a little bit better, and will give me exposure to DOT, more additional DOT, because here's the thing. Here's what's going to happen. Let's say I borrow 400 DOT. It's going to pay me to borrow, but then at some point it's like, well, okay, you borrowed 400 DOT, but then over time it's going to be like you owe 410 DOT back, but I'm going to have 420 DOT, and then I'm going to be able to keep that additional 10 DOT or whatever. But you get what I'm saying. And then I could sell the DOT if the price was way up, or I could do something else with the DOT. I could hold it for long term, and whatever. But regardless, I'm always looking for new strategies to expand the crypto we have. And like I said before, I'm going hard in the paint, collecting more crypto. And I really do think this DeFi and some of the other excitement, a lot of people just kind of cheerleading out there and stuff like that, people with big followings, it could, there could be a lot of price action here this last quarter. Whether we hit all-time highs or not on Bitcoin and Ethereum, I'm not really sure. But I do think this stuff on this level 1 smart contract platforms, there's going to be a lot of activity out there, and a lot of money being made. So anyway, guys, look for those gains. If you're not subscribed, go ahead and subscribe, and follow me on all social media at Brian Phobos, YouTube, Instagram, Steemit, Twitter, Hive, BearShares, Kazaa, LimeWire, Friendster, MySpace.